Please welcome to the stage H.G. Chiselle of Advanced Energy Group.
Well, thank you again to the governor. Very excited to be here. This is funny, you really did hear the voice of God. I was like, where is that coming from? Oh, that's from me. My name is H.G. Chiselle. I'm founder and CEO of Advanced Energy Group. It is a stakeholder mobilization platform designed to help leaders like yourself align, organize, and win at what matters most. I'm about to invite up our panelists for this discussion, but I'm struck by the fact that this location is right in front of Fenway Park. And when there's a game at Fenway Park, nearly 40,000 people stream through these streets to get into that stadium. Now, what do they have that we maybe are missing? They have one scoreboard. They have one clear, aligned definition of what winning means when they go into that stadium. And it unifies all of them towards finding ways to progress and experience the benefit and excitement at winning at something. Now, I believe climate change, energy transition, and everything that we care about is best addressed as a team sport. That's where we can mobilize together and achieve things we simply can't if we approach this as an economic opportunity only. And that opportunity is something that we as leaders have an opportunity to develop together as we align on what winning really looks like on these issues. And how do we develop our own scoreboard, so that we can experience that excitement, exhilaration of knowing we're making progress in the right direction. So our conversation this morning to kick things off is how are we meeting the moment? And you're going to hear from some extraordinary leaders on what are they doing now to move us forward. So I'd like to invite up my panelists. Please join me out on the stage. All right, to jump right in here, when we were discussing how to develop and prepare for this panel, we realized we wanted to take the topic from provinces to projects, how governments and industry are shaping climate policy in North America, and take that concept and bring it right to the present moment today. How are we meeting the moment now regarding this topic and the work that each one of these leaders is involved with? So I'd ask our panelists today to introduce themselves and talk about, from their standpoint, how are they meeting the moment today? And to kick off this discussion, we have Wizi Noura. She is with the Massachusetts Department of Energy. And would you please share how we're meeting this moment today?
Sure. So thanks so much, HG. Wizi Noura, I'm the Assistant Secretary for Federal and Regional Energy Affairs inside the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. It's a mouthful. Thank you to the organizers of Climate Tech for the invitation, and really pleased to be here with my fellow panelists. I'd say this panel in particular, how states, provinces, regions are meeting the moment, coming together, working together to achieve their clean energy priorities. That's something that really resonates with me. I'm actually part of a relatively new division inside the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, and we're focused exclusively on advancing the Commonwealth's clean energy, affordability, and reliability priorities, all at the same time, and working through multi-state, regional, and interregional collaborations and coordination. So that's what's important to us. Why? Because fact is, Massachusetts is not an energy island. We share a regional power grid across the 6 New England states, overseen by ISO New England, and we're connected to neighboring power systems in New York, up in Quebec, and up in New Brunswick through 13 different interregional transmission ties, soon to be 14 when the New England Clean Energy Connect project is complete. So what's important there is that we rely on those neighbors for power. In fact, anywhere between 10 and 20% of the region's energy needs are met by imports of power over those interregional transmission ties each and every year. So all of that to say, we're in this together. our grids are connected. So we need to think and act regionally, and I would say increasingly more interregionally when we're solving for some of the grid's greatest challenges. You asked how we're meeting this moment. My team spends a lot of time thinking about transmission planning and development and how we improve those processes, because it's those processes that are critically important to getting real transmission projects built in this region. And transmission is the great enabler, right? It's key to unlocking offshore wind, onshore wind, and other renewable resources that are oftentimes located far from load centers. So it's critical that we have effective transmission planning processes here in the region and beyond, so that we can make proactive, forward-looking investments in our transmission system to enable the clean energy transition. So I'll leave it there and look forward to the discussion.
I appreciate you kind of setting the stage and the landscape for this discussion from a regional framework. Dan, you are the director for the Governor's Energy Office in Maine. What is the role that you see that states play in leading on this regional approach?
Well, it's hard to have a regional approach without states at the table and leading, or it wouldn't be regional, right? So I think what Wheezy underscored, and again, Dan Burgess from the Governor's Energy Office in Maine, it's great to be here. I think what we're seeing is an unprecedented level of regional collaboration and coordination, particularly at the state government level. We are coordinating on transmission policy. We're coordinating on economic development opportunities. Our governors have the New England governors and Eastern Canadian premiers have come together last year, and will do again so this year, to increase that communication and collaboration. We have, not to get into acronyms, something called the NICE Committee, the Northeast Committee on Energy. We are meeting regularly as states and with the provincial governments around us to meet our shared goals of affordability, reliability, at reduced emissions. In Maine, we are just 10% of the electric load in New England. We are also home to significant onshore clean energy resources, significant offshore opportunities, and we are bordered by provincial governments. Our economies are intertwined. Canada is our largest trading partner. And so as we think about the opportunities to advance those conversations, it becomes more and more clear that our energy opportunities are intertwined. So we have an 80% renewable portfolio standard by 2030 that Governor Mills has put into statute. So we think about, what does the scoreboard look like? We have statutory requirements for emissions reductions, clean energy targets, heat pump deployment. Maine is the most home heating oil reliant state in the country, and so the governor has prioritized heat pumps. And so we have those scoreboards and those targets that we're achieving, and I think you'll find through this conversation and others is that they look really similar. And it's maybe the team is a little bit different, and some of the metrics might be a little bit different, but the way that we're scoring those are quite similar.
Thank you. And then we talked also about the importance, when you have a framework for commitment at the government level, the critical role industry plays in being a partner, an accelerator, a catalyst. Justin, would you please introduce yourself and share the role you have in this ecosystem?
Sure. Thanks, AG. Good morning, everyone. Justin Trudell, I'm the president and CEO of First Light Power. We're an independent power producer. We have 1.6 gigawatts of operating assets in New England, Ontario, Quebec, and Pennsylvania, including the largest pump storage project in New England, Northfield Mountain, almost 1,200 megawatts of pump storage. We also have a 4 gigawatt pipeline of development projects in all at different energy sectors. So offshore wind, onshore wind, solar, battery energy storage. We truly believe in an all of the above approach to deploying clean energy and the clean energy future. In terms of how we're meeting the moment and how industry is meeting the moment, two things I'd like to highlight. One is that 4 gigawatt development pipeline. We are trying to actively deploy more clean energy on the grid. We already operate the largest battery in New England. That's what pump storage is. It's a large water battery. Would welcome anybody to come out and come see it. It's a marvel of technology. But hydropower and pump storage in particular are keys to integrating large intermittent renewable sources. So we like to lean heavily on our existing assets and continue to deploy new. And then the other thing is we're on the cutting edge of some initiatives as well. Partnership with the Department of Energy, with GE Vernova and with Eagle Creek Renewable Energy, looking at AI and machine learning and smart sensors and how we can get 3 to 5% more power out of our existing assets. So if I deploy that technology across the entire hydro ecosystem in the United States in particular, I can add gigawatts of capacity without new dams, without new infrastructure. So we're leaning heavily into that and trying to be advocates for new technology and new approaches. And I keep my team pretty busy staying active in state solicitations. We're always one of the first to comment on public requests and whatnot. So just continue to stay very active in the space.
Thank you. And in talking with you about the importance of collaboration, you also touched on your work with Canada, which led to an opening, David, that we learned from you on the importance of creating international partnerships and leveraging commitments from UK and other locations. Would you share about your work?
Thank you very much. So my name is David Clay. I'm the UK Consul General to New England, which means I'm responsible for the UK's relations with the 6 New England states. It's a really exciting time for clean energy in the UK. We have a goal of the UK being fully powered by clean energy by 2030, of reaching net zero by 2050, and that sort of clear and sustained commitment has really kind of generated huge amounts of private sector investment, $57 billion since last July, but also a huge amount of innovation as well in the UK, in our research organisations, in our universities, supported by the UK government as well. So it's a great time to be thinking about international collaboration, and New England is a really important partner for us. I think there are kind of a range of different areas where we really want to lead kind of greater and closer collaboration over the next few years, particularly around research and development, around trade and investment, around work on each other's supply chains. I think there's real opportunities on both sides there, but also exchanging experience and policy on issues around regulation, around the clean energy transition, around how we're adapting our grids. So I think there's huge potential at the moment for closer international collaboration, particularly between the UK and New England, but I mean more broadly than just that.
Thank you. Now, for the benefit of our panelists here, I wanted to ask you in the audience 2 questions. First question, it's a simple hand poll. The topic climate tech, the topic climate policy, energy transition. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being extremely urgent, how urgent in your mind is this conversation? Let's just see your hand. What do we got? All right. 0? No, just kidding. No one had a 0. Just kidding. 5s. We're seeing 5s. We're seeing 5s. Okay. How satisfied, next question, are you with the current pace of progress on addressing this urgent issue? 5 being completely satisfied, 0 being not satisfied at all. Let's see where you stand. Okay? Let's take an average, everyone. What do we see? What's our average here? I got a nice bright-eyed 4 over here, but then I got a defiant 1 over here. Good. All right, strong 2. I think at best I could give you maybe, okay, we got a 0, 2. Okay, so we're at, I would say on average, 5 on urgency, about a 2 on satisfaction with progress. That gap, let's talk about the gap, because policy is the process of creating the framework for new results, new futures, but the gap between experiencing that is that period where people can lose faith, lose support, and perhaps not enable us to achieve what we need to do. So just coming back to you, Weezy, how do you respond to that gap, and where do you see things that we should be excited about and ways that we can lean in to experience that progress?
Sure. So I'll highlight 2 areas that we can be really excited about when it comes to regional and interregional collaboration. So on regional collaboration, I will say here in New England, we have made some great progress on regional transmission planning to improve the way we plan and build transmission infrastructure across the 6-state region. Some of you may be familiar with ISO New England's new longer-term transmission planning, or LTTP process. This is years in the making, and it allows ISO New England to issue a competitive transmission solicitation following a longer-term transmission planning study to solve for longer-term transmission needs on the system. This mechanism was approved by FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, last year. And it's a 100% state-driven regional transmission planning process that is designed to meet multiple needs, reliability needs, market efficiency needs, public policy needs like clean energy integration, all at the same time in a holistic, forward-looking manner with cost sharing across the 6 New England states, which is key. So this is a big deal, and the very first RFP as part of this process is on the street today. ISO New England issued the RFP 6 weeks ago and is focused on transmission solutions to strengthen the connection between northern New England and southern New England and help facilitate the integration of new renewable resources like onshore wind. It's an exciting development here in the region. We've been wondering when a competitive transmission solicitation would be issued here in New England. Well, it's on the street today. Bids are due in September, so this is definitely a space to watch. I'll just highlight also quickly in the interregional transmission planning space, you all may have heard of the Northeast States Collaborative on Interregional Transmission. It's a 9-state initiative that includes Massachusetts, Maine, 7 other Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states, all focused on improving interregional transmission planning. We see study after study highlight the many benefits associated with interregional transmission, yet we're seeing very little of it developed across our region and really across the country. So that's the focus of the work of the collaborative. That's what we're looking to improve interregional transmission planning processes so that we're not missing out on opportunities to expand our transmission networks to lower costs for consumers and improve grid reliability and resilience. Both huge benefits of interregional transmission. So follow that space as well. There's a strategic action plan that was just issued about 2 weeks ago that lays out a range of actions over the next several years that we're looking to pursue.
I love it, because we were talking this through, and I said, imagine we were going to create together the most impactful scoreboard for impact on these issues. What would need to be on the board? And solicitations came out from our conversations as a big win to actually get to the point of getting a solicitation on the table to go forward. That's reflective of needs that benefit us in our lives, that have a tie back to the quality of our life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Down the line, coming to you, Dan.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I think that's a great question because I think the 5s show the urgency of the issue, and then I would be surprised if we were above. You know, there needs to be that dissatisfaction in order for there to be innovation, and a lot of times in order for there to be progress. And so I think we're doing a lot, but I think there's a lot more to be done. And I think from Maine's perspective, we are again collaborating really closely regionally, and I think setting things in motion for big progress. I would also reflect on the progress that has been made. You know, in Maine, we've 10x the amount of distributed solar and solar that's in the state. We have more than 150,000 new heat pumps installed across the state. We are seeing electric vehicle penetration grow. We're building our charging stations. We are building projects and looking to grow economic development opportunities in the state. There is more to do, and I think, you know, as we look and this conference goes on, I think it really comes down to how are we working together to move policy but deploy technologies in collaboration with the private sector to grow the sector. So I'm not surprised to see the 5s. I think we should be higher than the 2s, but I think that points to the level of urgency that folks feel in this moment.
Definitely. And for those who did that voting, 5 and 2, do this one in your mind. On a scale of 1 to 5, how accountable are you to taking that 2 to a 5? If you're willing to share, what do you got? How accountable are you to take that 2 and make it a 5? All right, we got a 5 right here. That sets the tone of how we engage with all of us in this room, that we're that committed to making this progress. The key is finding agreed upon metrics of what takes a 2 to a 3. If we don't share that definition, how are we going to truly work together to feel the excitement of moving forward? And that's a challenge. Justin, you had some thoughts on this too.
HG, I promise there is capital waiting to be deployed, like on the sidelines, a lot of it, and we just need to unleash it and provide an avenue to spend that money. when we talked about, or when the governor talked about siting and permitting reform. Awesome, fantastic. When we talk about the solicitations for transmission planning, there's also the first of its kind energy storage procurement being issued by the state of Massachusetts for existing and new resources. I will put a plug in for our friends north of the border. The provinces are out front leading the way on solicitations and procurements for clean energy. And one of the things I'll tout north of the border is their requirement for local and indigenous support and even equity contribution to these clean energy projects. So that it's not just that, out of country or out of state or out of province developers coming in. They have to actively partner with local municipalities and with the indigenous. And that's a win for everybody. But the states and the provinces have to be out front leading, especially these days.
That's great. And that really reflects this, I would say, is a truth that the strength of your system is only as strong as weakest components. And this is all about system optimization here, how to have the most efficient, reliable, safe, prosperous system we could have will depend on those weakest links, those weakest components, and prioritize them and how we move forward. David, from your perspective on this issue.
I think there are probably two things I would flag from the UK domestic context. The first is bringing research and industry together to sort of innovate in partnership. So there's been some great progress in the UK through organisations like our offshore renewable energy catapult, which works with industry to provide research and testing capability for innovation in the UK, and also Innovate UK as well, which supports innovation, and I think about $1.5 billion on climate tech last year. The other area I'd highlight is using public sector money to de-risk private sector capital investments. We've just established an organisation called Great British Energy, which has just announced its first investment of $400 million in the offshore energy supply chain in sort of deindustrialised areas of the UK, and it's a great way to just de-risk the capital that we want to see coming from the private sector. And hopefully, in both those areas, there were real opportunities to share that experience with our partners in New England.
Thank you. Now, the last question I had for my panelists goes to the spirit of this conference itself. This is so amazing that this conference came from an idea and is now a reality. That shows courage, bravery, and commitment and engagement by all of us to be supporting this. Now, we know this conference is going to happen in 12 months. What are we going to do from now until that 12-month moment where we're back in the room, and I might ask you again, what's your level of urgency and what's your level of satisfaction on progress to move that from a 2 to a higher number in 12 months? That was my prompt to my panelists to give you a call to action. So, Weezy, will you kick off the call to actions?
Sure. This has been a common theme, but my call to action is let's move from study to solicitation. We've done that in the sense of regional transmission planning, but on interregional transmission planning, we've seen study after study highlight the benefits of greater interconnectivity between regions. It's time to move to a solicitation, and it's time to move towards a robust framework for routinely evaluating, exploring, and pursuing interregional transmission concepts that can bring benefits to consumers. So that would be mine.
Love it. Thank you.
And I'm going to build on that. Once you go from solicitation, which I completely agree, we need to deploy, right? We have the technologies that are needed to meet our affordability, reliability, and emission reduction targets. We need to get them deployed, and I think that speaks to the solicitations. My call to action is needing industry and stakeholders and government to continue to put policies forward to meet those targets in those moments. To do that requires, I think, participation in the process and showing up where your projects might be, understanding the different market dynamics and community dynamics that exist in different jurisdictions. That's my call to action.
Thank you. Justin?
I'll echo what the governor said earlier. It's not time to take our foot off the gas, and we need to lean in and lead locally where we can continue to make a difference where our projects already exist. It may seem like an existential and huge crisis, but we can take small bites at this. where we can control it and where we have access and everything else. So I would say lean into that local flavor and lean in where you can.
And preparing for this, you had shared so many great projects that your company is doing, and you really made the kind of exciting offer to bring people in and go to the front lines of your projects and see what they're doing. So bringing people, if you haven't gone and seen a large duration battery storage project, get to one. If you haven't gone as close to these projects as you can, get as close as you can. And you offer people to be able to see what you do.
Absolutely. We try and be an open and public and transparent as we can. We invite folks in so that everybody knows about what we're doing and the benefits that it brings. So please do reach out to us. We're happy to have you.
We'll have you in Maine, too, if you want to come to Maine.
All right, we got some road trips planned for the next 12 months. Let's go. David.
Well, how about you extend your road trip to the UK?
I think that was an invitation.
But I think my call to action would be really just to get creative with partnerships. There are people across the world, and certainly in the UK, who share share the sort of the ambition and enthusiasm of the people in this room for innovation and for addressing the climate emergency. So I think there's huge potential to build stronger partnerships than we have at the moment across industry, from startups, research and government, across all of the different bodies that are engaged in this activity.
Thank you. Yes, I was so grateful for the opportunity to engage with each of you and talk through these concepts. The adage that the resistance to change is only overcome when you feel its benefit. It's really up to each of us to shorten the gap between our aspirations that are compassionate, they're thinking about the future, and the benefits that people experience. The quicker that gets closed, the more people will be invested in being a part of making all this happen. So thank you so much for the inspiration. Thank you all for being a part of this, and let's see what we can make happen in the next 12 months.